right, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise, glory, and honor that's due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachaha, Kodash, double honor to the elders and apostles that great meals known to rule well. Peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect, shalom, barakathum. And doing a little bit of a morning in transit. I want to play a little bit of this video while I'm driving to show you that there's another point of division, all right, which is class warfare, all right. This is a video by a streamer called Asmongold. Now, you know, if you kind of game in the RPG genre, you might know who he is, but he's got 3.5 million subscribers, and he often talks about, you know, pop culture and things of that nature, and what's going on, you know, in America. And one thing that people didn't think about, because a lot of brothers are doing videos on protests, which is definitely another point of division, but this stock market thing is starting to backfire on the economy here in multiple ways. So this is a multi-pronged attack. Let's play it. All right, and I'll see if I can get a few precepts while I'm driving.
So now you have people, and this is an old guy. For all you MAGA cultists who keep saying the market slump doesn't matter because 20 and 30-year-olds have plenty of time to make up the losses. Seriously, what's your answer to people who are retiring now who thought that they were good until your guy fucked it up? What's your answer? Tough shit? Yes, my answer is tough shit. Just like your generation's answer to millennials and Zoomers who are unable to get a job, buy a home, and start a family and save for own retirement was tough shit. This is your karmic reckoning, carefully curated from the moment you abandon the unwritten obligation every next generation has to leave the world a better place. This is a very, very common sentiment from young people, that they have a huge resentment towards boomers and older people for not relinquishing some degree of control over the economy or not making the economy better for them to grow up into, right? They fucked us, exactly. You store our jobs, store our house.
Right, because these boomers, if you don't know, the baby boomers, when they came home from the war in World War II, you know, they saw unprecedented amount of wealth and economic growth. Okay, they inherited a lot. You know, they this is the time where America was going up, or at its peak. It was building all of these different factories. A lot of factories were holdovers from World War II, and ever since then, you know, they've gotten older and started to retire, and they got earned early on the stock market. When you see the Dow over the past X amount of years, it's just been going up and up and up. Like the Dow right now is like 40,000. Back then it was like under 1,000 when they invested, you know? So they had a lot of money. And what have they been telling everybody, you know, is pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You know, you gotta put in more job applications, you know, that kind of thing. You know, and ultimately, and really, this was intended for Jake, you know. They really had that message for us, that we just got to do better. That's why they wanted us to integrate. You know, back in Martin Luther King was telling us to hold hands with Esau, the devil, all right? They knew if we integrated into that economy that this was going to happen. We were going to end up at the bottom of it, you know, because they rigged it. They controlled it. They can decide with HOAs who gets a house where, all right? They can decide with managers and portfolio managers who invest your stocks. Can you invest stocks? They don't even teach you about it in school, man. You know? Like when you go to high school, unless you go to like a private school, they don't teach you anything about stocks and finances. They show your ass how to write a check, and that's it. Okay? They go over basic economic concepts, like there's no such thing as a free lunch. They'll go over supply and demand, but there's no utility in what they teach you. So your ass go out there, and what's the first thing that happens? You end up in debt, man. Okay? You know? And so now they're like tough shit, because these old boomers, a lot of their wealth was tied into the stock market, which Trump has now crashed. So this is another point of division, okay? And that's what the Lord promised, okay? What does it say? Isaiah 19:2. In verse 1, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud and shall come into Egypt. So the division and the destruction from the division is going to be swift, all right? Because the baby boomers, if they saw it coming, they could have divested, but they didn't. You know, they thought that they was gonna be good forever. They were gonna retire, and they're living long as hell, man. Because, you know, they like technology and all of that money that they got. You know. But it says, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptian against Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother. All right, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So I always go into the division and how it's going to happen on multiple different levels. All right, and this is another level. All right, the old versus the young. All right, and guess what's gonna happen when there ain't no food and you got bread lines? They're not gonna give a damn if you're 70 years old. You know, these old Edomites, because they did a lot of wickedness back in their day. Remember this? They did a lot of wickedness. These boomers walking around, they might be at the Hy-Vee saying, "Hello, how you doing?" You know, but they're the devil, man. Like the brother Arrows of Indignation. GMS Arrows of Indignation, he posted a video of a Jake that was in the military last night. You know, he was just going into I think he was in Ohio, and he just went into the gas station, and the old Edomite dude served in the military as well, and he noticed that he was served in the military. He said, "You serve in the military?" And he said, "Yeah," and the Jake thanked him for his service. All right, and then the Edomite turned around and said, "They still letting people like you in?" You know, he said, "What?" He said, "What did you say?" He said, "They still letting colors in," and he grabbed him by the neck. You know, it's him telling the story. They didn't show it, you know, but this is him telling the story. And in the beginning of the video, you hear him tell his son, you know, it's best that you just walk back in the car, you know, because, you know, Jake is tired of it, man. You know. So a lot of these old Edomites walking around, they seem like they're nice, but they got a lot of blood on their hands. Remember Lester, or I forget his last name, but he's out in this area in Kansas City. You know, that Jake knocked on his door and got his ass blown away, man. You know, and so now the Lord is bringing that back on them, and I believe the baby boomers did so much wickedness. This is why they're living so long, man. These motherfuckers are living at 80, 90 years old. You know. They're still out and about, you know, they got money, all right? They're not just living off of retirement, man. They got paid, okay? You know, because the wealth is not real. They really stole it. It's inflated wealth, okay? It ain't really worth that, but they're still able to live off of it. And who's paying for it? The next generation, okay?
Houses, you store our pensions, you store our rents, you store our futures, and you made the world indefinitely worse for us in every single way. Also, you can have a boost to your portfolio and spend historically unprecedented 20 years at the end of your entitled lives sitting on the beach in Florida. You know why millennials and Zoomers don't care about what's happening right now? It's not because we think we'll make up for it later. It's because you've already accepted that we'll never make it up. This is a normal day for us. This has been our reality our entire fucking lives.
Right, they don't care. The millennials and the Gen Z, they're crashing out, man. A lot of them still live with their parents. They don't care. They know they're not gonna ever get rich, okay, off of the stock market. They know that there's no retirement waiting for them, man. If you go work a job, if you're 20 years old and you think you're about to work a job and they just gonna pay you retirement in 30 years, you out of your mind, man. Well, first of all, we're not gonna be here that long. But even to think that you would is crazy, man. That's naive. Okay, Esau's not paying out pensions no more. He ain't doing pensions no more. Okay, he ain't doing retirement no more. He might show you the numbers, okay, in your account, but when it comes time, you're not getting that, man. Okay, best believe, you know, because he's the devil, man. And of course, they need an incentive for you to waste 20, 30 years of your life, okay, while they pay you a 0.0000001% fraction of what he made off of your ass. Okay. So this guy is is off the chain, and now his own people are starting to feel it. Okay, now the losses are starting to be realized, man. You know, in the stock market, you got something called unrealized gains and unrealized losses. That means your stock portfolio is down, but you haven't taken the money out yet, to where you felt that once you pull it out, that's it. There's no chance of you waiting for it to go back up again. You know, right now the stock market is down and people are kind of still holding on to it. and that causes it to stabilize. But there's gonna come a point where if it keeps going down, people are gonna say, "Oh, it ain't going back up," and they're gonna sell. Okay, they're gonna cut their losses and sell. Then the losses will be realized, but at least they don't lose any more money. You know, and when other people sell, and when people sell, it causes other people to sell. Okay, and it's a cyclical effect. This is how the markets crash. Okay.
LMAO, welcome, enjoy, pull yourselves up by your boots.
They laughing at us
sitting on the beach in Florida. You know why millennials and Zoomers don't care about what's happening right now? It's not because we think we'll make up for it later. It's because we've already accepted that we'll never make it up. This is a normal day for us. This has been our reality our entire fucking lives. LMAO. Welcome, enjoy, pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, skip the avocado toast, and print off a few resumes. That's right.
Right. That's like a meme now that Obama would tell you, well, you shouldn't eat avocado toast, which is an expensive thing. That's a California West Coast thing. They say go print off more resumes, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Okay. You know, they say, you know, get a savings account. What, motherfucker, you can't save money in this economy. You know, most people can't, at least. You know, jobs are not paying like that, man. Okay. When they had an economic downturn, they could go get a job at a McDonald's and Burger King and sustain their family for a little bit way back when. Now, a McDonald's job, boy, you're lucky to even be able to afford the food there. You know, that McDonald's ain't even cheap no more. You know. So this is them get that bitterness and resentment. This is that tension, that build up, man. You know, another point of contention.
That is exactly fucking right. It's crazy to me that people don't understand this. It really is. It's crazy that they don't get this. Yeah, they can learn the code, exactly. And you're a terrible person. That doesn't change the fact that they're still going to do it. You can use as much emotional blackmail as you want. You can try to guilt trip people as much as you want. You can try to use emotional language and appeal to people in that way as hard as you possibly can. But at the end of the day, tough shit, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Too bad, pussy. Sucks to suck. Rip bozo. Easy GG. You might not agree with the sentiment. You might think the sentiment is like,
it's funny as hell because these Gen Z, they talking like a gaming language. You know, rip, GG, you know, they say like you play Call of Duty. That's what they telling the boomers now, man, on Twitter. You know, and it's beautiful, man, because Trump has set this shit on fire, man, and it's not over with yet. Okay, this is gonna lead to a crash. Okay, this is gonna lead to more. This is gonna lead to civil unrest. All right, you know, this trade war is turning up, man. You know, call for lawyer. How about you? How was shot, man? I play a little bit more.
Wrong or destructive, and I think that's totally fair to feel that way. But and in some ways, it's true. But if you don't understand it, it's a very big difference. You can understand something without agreeing with it. If you can't understand this and where this is coming from, you have left the realm of reality. You have. Millennials are going to inherit the most wealth in world history from our parents. Yep, that's right. And yeah, they will care when prices skyrocket. People are paying $15 for a cup of coffee. People are already paying $15 for a cup of coffee. See, like you can't make this like argument to fear of prices going higher. Do you know why you can't do that? It's because it already happened. It already happened.
Right. See, Esau, when prices inflate, you know, Esau still has to pay more, but he's not living paycheck to paycheck like you are. Okay, when a cup of coffee goes up to $15, all right, that doesn't hurt him. Okay, he still owns hard assets that appreciate on their own. He has something called productive assets, which means the very things that he owns make money on themselves without him touching it. Okay, so when menial things like groceries go up or gas goes up, yeah, he still has to pay that price too, but it doesn't hurt him as much, so he doesn't care. Okay, the average everyday person, your ass got to drive to work. Like I'm in traffic right now, you know, it hurts people, man. You know. And so this division of the haves and the have-nots, it's gotten out of control. And during 2020, it accelerated and went, you know, way beyond where it should have, you know.
So you can't go and say, oh yeah, well, prices are going to get a lot higher. They just got higher in COVID, and we all did what you told us by wearing masks, taking the vaccine, and socially distancing. And then what's the reward for it? The price hikes for COVID stayed after COVID, and they got worse.
Yeah, yeah.
And you expect people to just...
Because you cannot convince me that I went and got some deodorant the other day. For a single stick of deodorant is $8, man. You cannot tell me it costs that much for some goddamn deodorant. That shit, you know, especially some of the bullshit brands like Old Spice, that shit used to be like $2.50, man. You know? You cannot tell me it still costs $8. Where did the cost come from? Because during the lockdowns, they said the supply chains got locked down. We had to lock them down, and that causes the prices to inflate, right? Because the shipping and all of that. And they couldn't get the shipping. Remember, the shipping containers couldn't get into America, and it caused a big backup in the ocean and in the ports. Okay, well, guess what? That's been opened up for years now, and the prices never came down. They used it as an excuse to keep the prices high. It really doesn't cost that much, and nobody is calling them on that, man. Okay, really, if people really knew what they were doing, they'd be ready to put hands on people. Okay.
Playing the ball? Absolutely not. Yeah, we did. Yes, a lot of people did. What are you talking about? We can't complain? Oh, people can complain. I'm just saying this is the way it happens, right? It's turning into a numb feeling. Yeah, the answer is at least you get to retire. I'll never retire. Us terrible people really don't care when somebody calls us terrible either. Exactly. And this is what's going to happen. Looks like the tables have turned. I'll read a few comments about this too, real quick. And Skip, that would cost. Most realistic and hilarious thing I've read lately. Can't tell how many times you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And don't let your work boots get called. Literally every financial advisor tells you to move money out of stocks and into risky investments if you're near retirement. Yeah, of course. The Tunskin Rod, the motherfucker from Orbit. Yeah, their houses all went up in value over 5x in the last few years, and their stocks are already 5x from 2000. No one...
Yeah, you forgot about that too, man. They were from the era where they bought a house for like 40 bands, man. A nice house. I'm talking about a 5-bedroom, you know, damn near mansion. What do you think that house is worth today? It's almost worth $1 million now, man. You know, now it's not really worth that. It's all, you know, inflated money. That's the nominal value of it. But what can you do with $1 million, man? A lot. Okay. Can you imagine that? That's why the older generation, they don't care. All right, and the younger generation, they know this, man. Okay, it cost them. It costs what the boomer generation can buy an entire house for back then, a nice one. Okay, they can't even buy a small 2-3 bedroom. They can't even afford the down payment. The down payment on a small 2-3 bedroom is the same as what they paid for the entire house for a nice 5-bedroom back in the day, man. You know, if you want a house for $200,000 or $250,000, it's 40 bands for a down payment, man. If you were to do it without that FHA bullshit, okay? It's 40 bands, okay, for a down payment, and that's what Esau was paying for the entire house back then, man. You know, so get ready for more protests, okay? Get ready for the what did the scripture say? The love of many shall wax cold. I'll get that real quick and I'll close out. Okay, I'll just search it. Matthew 24. Okay, Matthew 24:12. It says, "And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold." All right, and a lot of iniquity has abounded, man. A lot of theft and robbery has been going on. A lot of bamboozling and Ponzi schemes have been getting propped up. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen? People are going to be upset. People are going to be pissed off. All right, and it may just be peaceful protests right now, and a lot of back and forths on the internet. But this is going to come out into the streets, and it's going to get beyond protests. All right, you know where this is going. Second Ezra, the 15th chapter. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. On to the next. Shalom.